Hello, this is my review for the Hottop KN 2K Plus, the one that you can use with Artisan. I'm also going to try to talk about things that I haven't heard other people talk about in their Hottop reviews, but I will maybe overlap with some of them just to give context to what I'm talking about, okay? I'm a very novice roaster. I got this early in the year of 2019, or late in the quarter, so wherever that is, maybe March or something. I've been roasting basically every week since that time, so give or take about 2 months, 3 months of solid roasting with this thing. I have all of my profiles saved on Artisan on the computer, and yeah, I have over 20 roasts. So a couple of things that I want to go over in this review. I have notes why this machine, why somebody would want to get this type of machine and my reasons for it. How feasible is it, right? So after I explain my kind of reasons why, I'll kind of dive into, well, you start thinking about how feasible is it? How practical is it to actually do this thing of home roasting in this way? And then we'll go into, and the feasible, is it feasible? I'll tell you all of the things that I've run into. And then the biggest issues that I have with it. And then we'll round it up with why I love this machine, okay? Why this machine? First of all, aesthetics. So it was very similar to, say, a commercial roaster, which is a drum design like this one. There's a drum in here where the beans rotate like this in a drum. You're not going to get the same thing as a commercial roaster because this is electric, and most commercial roasters are gas. The biggest thing with that is gas is more responsive. So when you want it to be hotter, it's hotter immediately versus this. The coils in there, they have to kind of heat up. I personally didn't want something that looked dinky. To my vanity, I wanted something that was like, okay, if I'm gonna roast coffee, I wanna kind of feel like I'm a roaster, like a real one, right? So speaking to my own vanity, you had this. There's no trier where you can take out the beans and sniff them like somebody like cool hipster. Don't have that, but you have a window that you can view the coffee beans in as they rotate. You can see from green to yellow to brown, whatever, right? And then it had this was kind of a big deal too, which was the cooling tray. So when it comes out, a lot of big commercial roasters, like you go to any roaster, you see this big cooling tray. Once the beans are done roasting, you see them hypnotizing you and rotating in this cooling tray. And I was like, dude, I want that. Another thing was I wanted, if I was gonna do roasting, because I always kind of thought it was out of my league, I wanted to really have complete control. And I was like, dude, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna dive in. Like, I'm just gonna leap. You know, so I wanted to really have complete control, but still not buy like a real commercial roaster. So this is basically at $1,600. This is the top that you can get, I think, for a home roaster. And you can hook it up to Artisan, and Artisan is a free, like crowdsourced software, kind of like WordPress, where it's free and it can work for a PC and for Mac. So I have a Mac right here, bam. And I'm able to control everything manually. You could still do an automatic roast and just use the panel here on the machine. But I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do like what the big boys are doing, kind of, right? So I want to see the rate of rise, rate of run. I want to see I want to mark where my drying phase ends, and I want to see where the Maillard reactions are taking place, and then I want to mark where first crack is, and this and that, right? So I really love that sort of hands-on approach with that, and you can see data in relation to what your beans are doing. So that was really important to me. If indeed I wanted to take this to the next level and get like a 1 kilo roaster or something like that, I felt like doing this here on a drum roaster and kind of understanding the basics with this tiny little drum roaster and transferring that sort of knowledge into a big boy machine like a 1 kilo roaster or something like that, something more commercial, that I could do that easier. I felt like, and I made that pitch to my husband when I told him to get me this one. And then that led into, okay, because we're, we already run a business, so we're like always thinking of monetizing everything. And I was like, well, if we decide to do that, I'm not saying that I'm going to do that right away, or that's not really my goal. If we decide to do that, I feel like we're taking steps towards that. So we're kind of covering all bases with this sort of machine. Another thing, a big reason why is that, we've been in the business of weddings for 10 years now, and we're like, dude, how can we mix it up? How can we give back to our clients? And we were just sending gifts like through Amazon, which just didn't feel as, it didn't give me the feels when I sent it, So I was like, dude, like, once the idea of coffee roasting became real, I was like, let's give them coffee, So now it's become this, like, that's my number one thing that kind of keeps me going and gives some, I guess, reason to this passion, because a lot of entrepreneurs will not want to do things that is not monetizable and kind of like worth their time, because your time is worth a lot when you work for yourself. So that's my why as to why I chose this machine. In the next section of this review, I'm going to talk about how feasible is it. Like, okay, you're entertaining this idea of roasting coffee at home, but like how? Better like how? So what are the real day-to-day things that you're going to deal with? How much time is it going to suck from you? I mean, I can say this is my passion, right? And this is like a nice little project, and I have a lot of fun with it, but it's still going to suck time from you. So let me just lay out for you how feasible it is for me in my experience, okay? Being very novice, being like really, really still learning. Even after doing this pretty consistently, like if I was just gonna roast for myself, I'd probably roast every 2 to 3 weeks or something, right? But because I'm like effectively like creating a lot of coffee, sending it out and getting feedback and everything, and I even submitted some coffee to like this Bodhi coffee challenge, home roasting challenge and stuff. So I've been giving myself big carrots to like chase after as I'm roasting coffee. I still feel like I know nothing, okay? I've spent already hours being on the internet, reading many blogs, particularly about this machine, because this machine, not a lot of people have it. And the people that do, they have their own way of roasting. And what I found as I've been learning is that there isn't a consensus about how to do it with one particular machine, especially this one. I think it's because it's expensive, so not a lot of people are buying it. I think a lot of people mostly have the Baymore, which is that oven looking one, and I really didn't want to get that because it looked like an oven, even though the price was much friendlier at $500 to $600. But yeah, I feel like not too many people have this, at least in my research online. And the way that they do it, it's usually very old material, or it's outdated, or the artisan that they're using is not up to date as well, because that's also free source. So it's all very not consistent in terms of information that's out there. So when I went to go, I was like, okay, so when do I turn on the air? That was a big question. And throughout all of my researching and even looking in the comments of things, like shout out to Napo Barista, I think he has the best video out there. It still wasn't clear to me, There's still a lot of like experimentation that goes on. And if you're not okay with that, with not getting it right the first few 50 times, the first few like 20 times or 10 times even, like you might get frustrated. To me, if I don't get it right, I'm just like, okay, cool, interesting. I'll get it, maybe I'll get it better next time. Like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that journey. Hours of reading about roast theory too. So it's not only just about like, how does this machine work? Because they do give you a manual, but that too is like, doesn't really make sense with roast theory. So I'm like, you're saying this, like for example, charge at 200. That's kind of really low for, maybe that's a sample size for like 100 grams. But if I'm doing 150 grams or 200 grams, which I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now and playing with those two sample sizes, is not enough heat. And it makes the thing go, the roast time go way too long. So what also matters too is like the density of the bean, how much moisture is in the bean. And I'm like, I don't know that, so it's always a little bit, it's like a toss up. And what was interesting to learn via this book, this coveted book, it was like $45 for this book, okay? And I'm still like, huh? They were saying, you know, he's giving a lot of really great guidelines, but it's still all roast theory, and it's still all his own experimentation and his findings, and it all sounds very scientific and very like proven, I guess. But when you translate, I mean, I can't translate this commercial roasting to this, right? So I'm still like, okay, I think I see what you're saying, but I can't really replicate the results here, right? Because I got a different tool, not the same power, not the same drum speed, not the same a lot of stuff, right? So there's this thing of always like learning the theory, you know, and maybe it would be a lot easier if I had a commercial roaster and go, yes, this is this, that is that. But this is kind of like that. I kind of see what you're talking about over here. So that's what roasting with this thing is like, if you're going this deep, you know. Another thing too was like, I so wanted to use this with Artisan, but the first, I'd say 2 days of downloading Artisan, and we had to download it more than 10 times. Uninstall and download, because it wouldn't connect for some weird reason. So if you're not tech savvy about finagling with like free software, and we're kind of used to it because we have things like this in our business where we're like, okay, maybe you try this little trick, and then you kind of learn the ropes of this particular software and how it likes to behave in a weird way, you know. So my husband was really used to that, so he was able to figure it out. But if it was me, and I'm not that tech savvy, like I'm not really into trying to sit there and figure out why this USB is not connect, like you don't read this machine, I would have given up already, you know. So that could be frustrating. That took a lot of time, and we were here trying to like demo it for a friend, and the whole like hour or so we couldn't make it happen. She was like, I'm going home. And then the moment she left, like my husband figured it out. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. In terms of how long does it take to roast a batch, so like I said, I was playing around with 150 grams to 200 gram sample size, and I'll usually stay within 10 minutes to 12 minutes total roast time. And then I'll have to let this thing cool down a little bit because I don't want it to be too hot to where when I put in the next batch it will burn or carry heat too quickly or whatever, right? So I had a chance to be able to roast a lot of bags because we had a lot of clients and friends that wanted to try some. So I was able to roast for like 5 hours straight. It wasn't it's back to back, but it wasn't like once I'm done, I'm putting the next batch in. It was like, I'm done, I'm gonna wait 10, 15, maybe 30 minutes, like I wasn't paying attention, just to let this thing cool down. And when I was ready to even roast again in the next batch, I would use mittens and remove this thing, because you have to remove this plate, and make sure that the drum is clear of any beans. We'll get to that. And that the chaff tray right here is empty of chaff every single time. And this is plastic, hard plastic, but this is all metal. This will get really, really hot. So when I was doing that back-to-back roasting, I would just use mittens to take this off, clear the drum of anything that was stuck in there, and then put it back, and then proceed to roasting. So 5 hours, I got 7 bags at about 4 ounces each. Right. So another thing too that I didn't really think about was the coffee loss that you get from roasting coffee. So when you buy green beans, it's, you know, so it weighs, you know, say you get a pound, right? A pound of green beans, and you're thinking, dude, this is hella cheap. It's like $5, and now that I'm going to roast my own coffee, I'm going to save a lot of money, right? That's true. But it's not a 1-to-1 ratio of what you put in, what you get out. So I didn't really realize that. I heard it somewhere. I kind of knew it, but I didn't really realize it as I was buying coffee and as I was getting into coffee roasting. And so you actually use about 20% of the green coffee weight into roasted coffee weight. So you'll lose a little bit because there's air in there. And so it kind of like expands and lessens the weight of coffee. I could do that relatively safely too, because They don't recommend back-to-back roasting if you're gonna do dark roasts, which I accidentally did on my first 2 roasts because I don't know what the hell I was doing. So I was just like letting it burn. I didn't touch anything. It just literally just burnt to a crisp. It smelled like tobacco and my friend said soy sauce. And so that was like my second batch or first batch or something. Doing that will release a lot of oil from the bean onto the exterior of the bean, onto the drum itself of this guy. If you're gonna do back-to-back roasts, it's highly recommended that you keep it light roast, you know, so you're not letting those oils escape from the bean. You're keeping it in a light roasted state. You're not creating that much smoke as well, so you're not cooking it as long. And inevitably you're gonna have less to clean, which is great. But if you like that French roast, Italian roast kind of thing, you're gonna have to be cleaning this guy a lot more. You know, fortunately, I really, really like light roasts. City Plus. I only go into full City or full City Plus roast or medium roast by accident. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So I like to keep it really light, and I think this is ideal for that. You're constantly cleaning too. So I have this, but I have this cordless vacuum cleaner. And I'm just always cleaning up. If I'm doing many roasts back to back, I'm just always cleaning with this. Unless you're the sort of person that likes to have chaff everywhere. But it's very flammable, so make sure you always clean the chaff tray and this chute too. Make sure there's nothing kind of like hanging out in there. Okay, another thing, it takes up space. Like, okay, I'm 5'1", okay? So look how big this guy is. It's semi-heavy. I mean, 15 pounds. And then, so you've got this, right? This is hooked up. And you've got to have the 3-prong outlet. You've got your USB, it does come with it. And this goes into your laptop. So that you got that and that's hooked up. And this would be turned around, right? Because I want to be able to see that. And then you also have this light, which I would position to shine here so I could see the beans as they're going from drying to yellow, or from green to yellow to brown, right? So I want to be able to see that because I don't have a trier. So I have this. So as you can see, it takes up quite a bit of space. So that's also something that you need to think about as well too. Like right now, when I'm usually roasting, I have it on my kitchen counter because the outlets are very close. But what also takes up a lot of space is like all the little things. Like I was already going this deep into roasting my own coffee, so best believe like I was gonna get off-gassing bags like this, right? With the little one-way valve right here. I already had a heat sealer, so that was cool too, so I could heat seal it. And then just me being me, like I love to put my own stamp on things and I like to design stuff, so I ended up creating, you know, my own brand of coffee and my own label. And so there was that also. So I'm just telling you what I was doing, because I mean it made sense for us to do, because hey, we're gonna give it to clients and I'm like, hey look, here's this cool new little product that we're giving you from our home to yours. That's the whole campaign, right? And then all my green beans, like I had to just kind of like organize it because it ended up piling up everywhere in our kitchen. It just wasn't sightly. So that's something to consider too, is like how much space this is gonna take. Like most hobbies, like they start to grow, you know, and I like to keep it as organized as possible. And all this stuff you can just kind of Google it. I'll put in the description like what all my stuff is if you're curious. Learning to take notes too. So this was something, if you're really gonna get to this point, you know, Artisan has a way of recording stuff, but I don't think it's as visceral or as effective as hand taking notes, because you gotta be quick too. So 10 seconds over in coffee roasting can be dramatic in its result. So you've really got to be on it, and as you're taking notes and you're trying to apply theory to real life with your coffee and the machine that you have, you just want to be as on point as possible, right? Because you're trying to go, okay, this does this, but does it, right? Like that's kind of the thing. You're trying to figure that out. You have a hypothesis and you're going to test it, and then you're going to see if that your hypothesis is true. So I like that part of it. So you got to be able to take notes, and you have to also be able to learn how to learn this, if that makes sense. Learn how to learn this. Like, I don't think it's like most things. I think I'm a fast learner. I think I'm a very hands-on sort of person. And if I get my hands on things, like, I can kind of work with it. But I feel like still, like I said earlier before, like I still don't know anything. So, I mean, what I taste at the end of the day is still a good cup of coffee. I don't know if it's the best. I don't think I'm there yet for sure. But yeah, there's always this like, let's see, let's find out, you know? So, but I like that. I like that stuff. Also, I'll be taking a class here at this place. And I think that's gonna be a lot of fun too. So if you like learning too, you know, if you want to invest your time in not only doing your life, but also learning something new and really giving it a good shake, you know, giving it good effort, solid effort. And then books. I read a lot of books, as many books as I can get my hands on. But these books get kind of expensive. Like when you start getting to the good stuff, that's my is it feasible section. Pretty big section. So if you're okay with all that stuff, you know, like with most things, with most, you know, with most hobbies, they can get kind of crazy. And usually it's crazy for a reason. And usually they have people who love that stuff anyway, right? So if you're down with that, cool. Let's get into the biggest issues. And please, you know I'm just a novice and maybe, you know, I'm not doing it right or whatever, but this is just my feedback, okay? So constructive feedback. For right now, really quickly, just, you know, connecting to Artisan, like I mentioned before, it can be quite a headache if you don't have somebody who's tech savvy, if you're not tech savvy to be able to do it. If you're lucky enough to get in one shot, like, ooh, just know you are lucky. But keep trying, you know, keep asking in forums, keep like, try all the things. Uninstall it. You know, hit this button before this button, read the directions really carefully, and make sure you follow it to a T and see if that works. And if it doesn't work, just wipe it all off your computer, like erase it from your trash can if you're using Mac, and then reinstall it again and try it again, okay? So hang in there if you're having problems connecting to Artisan. Okay, let's move on to the Hottop machine itself. So, biggest issue with this, otherwise I'll love it. I really do, you know, everything that I've said. After every roast of mine, you're supposed to clear this drum, okay? So what I will do, every single roast, maybe save for 2, okay? Save for 2 roasts. There has been a bean that has been stuck in here, all right? Stuck. And that's bad because when the bean's stuck in there, it gets charred to hell. So the beans are supposed to rotate, you know, consistently and be able to roast evenly. That's the idea of a drum roaster, okay? Now it does matter what the drum is made out of and how many walls it has and all that stuff, but let's just work with this, okay? A simple thing. So I'll have to check in here. I have my I figured out that a wooden chopstick is my best friend. And I'll check in here and you rotate this counterclockwise. Okay, always counterclockwise. And I look for beans that are stuck. And always, if it is stuck in there, it will be here in the first row, closest to my face or closest to my hand. It'll be stuck in one of these little, what do you call that? Like a separator? I don't know what you call that. So I'm gonna show you exactly. Part of the tools that you'll wanna keep next to you is just a really handy Phillips screwdriver, okay? So I'm gonna turn this around, I'm gonna show you. And the reason why I wanna hang out a little bit more on this issue is because I think it's an easy fix. Constructive criticism. Otherwise, it's really cool. And they give you instructions on the manual on how to do this. And they're very clear, they're very good, sometimes. Okay, so we have this plate removed, right? And the biggest thing too, you'll wanna do this, they say every 5 times you roast. Like I said, if you're roasting a lot of like dark roast, so you're probably gonna wanna get in there a lot earlier. Okay, so this drum, it's secured in the back. It's got like a little insert, so just be careful when you're removing it. Okay, so here's the drum. Single wall, this would be a single wall sort of drum. And these things in here, okay? So, wait, I don't know if you can see that. This thing that like kind of helps turn things, I guess. Like turn the beans around and keep them not bunched together, perhaps, I think. I don't know what the word is. But if you just continue this piece of metal all the way until this piece of spiral part right here, then a bean won't be able to get stuck in there, okay? Like that seems very easy fix. It just seems like an honest design flaw, and you could easily fix that by sending out people who already have this fixed drums, or if you don't want to do that and that's too costly, just have this part available for purchase, but you know, just a better one, a better designed one, you know, and that would just fix a lot of problems. And the reason why this is a big issue is because through my research, it's shown that if you have one bean in there that's just burnt to hell, I always throw them away, I should have kept it. It can effectively ruin the entire roast. So for somebody who's really wanting to learn, like myself, like I'm really wanting to learn this and I really want to apply theory and concept and everything like that and be able to execute it and see my results clearly. Like a scientist, if you have contaminated samples, your study is now void, right? So, so that's what I kind of think of when I'm like going through this and I see one bean in there that's like charred to hell and possibly ruining this batch that I just made, that I was just like so trying to apply my knowledge to this roast. Like it kind of like stabs me in my little coffee heart, because I want it to be, I want to have a good sample, you know, and I want to have a non-contaminated sample so I can get clean, clear results. So I can go, oh yes, this does this, right? I don't want to be like, does this do this? Because I don't know, that thing was like contaminated. That's just my feedback for Hottop. And I think it's a simple fix, because this just looks like it's welded on, right? So you just take the same drum, and if you're welding this part on, just elongate it to where it's not gonna create a gap in here, to where a bean can get stuck, and have that available for sale or something. And it shouldn't be crazy expensive, because we already spent $1,600 on this guy, right? So it tells you we're invested, that we care. We care about what we're trying to produce. We care about from bean to cup. We care. So it would make sense that you have a machine that is not flawed, with a flaw that can be fixed, I think. I don't know. I'm not a metal worker. I'm not an engineer, but it seems just like an oversight, okay? Like it was just mismeasured or something like that, all right? So just some feedback, helpful criticism. I hope you guys can fix it, because otherwise I'm like ready to jump onto that 1 kilo Baymore roaster like quick. That thing looks legit. It's also electric too, but it's 1 kilo. So, all right. And hopefully they don't have this issue here. So other than that, like, I really love this machine. I love that when I'm dialed into doing coffee roasting, that I'm a part of this world now. And it's very interesting, you know, like I have so much fun when I do it. So I hope that I was able to add more to the conversation of this machine, because there isn't much out there as well. So I also wanted to put out a more current video, and then maybe again do another update in like a year, like how am I doing with it? Does that bean actually make a difference? That's just my feedback right now. Like I said, it's only been like 3 months of me roasting. So, and maybe you guys can leave me some tips or suggestions, or like ways to get around that, or is it a big deal even, or like, Meg, you're being too dramatic. Leave the business alone. You know, want to hear your feedback in the comments. So Thanks for watching. I know it was long, but yeah, hopefully I was able to answer some unanswerable questions that are out there online about this machine in particular. I have so much fun with it. And yeah, so, oh, if you want to check out my coffee and my little journey, I'm at blackcitycoffee.com. And it's Black City Coffee on Instagram. All right, see you later. Bye.